Hey everybody, Tom and Wes here from PC Gamer.
Yo.
And we're here with Sven and Thomas from Larian Studios. Welcome, guys.
Hi, guys.
Hey, thank you.
And they're gonna
have a new RPG to show us.
Yeah.
Well, it's a prototype, pre-alpha version of Divinity Original Sin 2. And so I'll be showing you some of the main things that we're going to be putting in the game. We're running it on the Original Sin engine because it allows us to rapidly iterate over the gameplay. But a lot of the things that you'll be seeing, you will not see in the final game. So there's still very early days, but there's already quite a lot to see and quite a lot to do also. So I'm currently controlling a party of 4 characters. They are what's called sorcerers. Sorcerers are a user of a forbidden form of magic in this world, and they just escaped from jail. We're level 10 characters. So this is definitely not the beginning of the game. We crash landed here. Our party is scattered over this beach, and we're going to try to head back together. We're being pursued by somebody called Divine Magisters, and if these guys are going to catch up with us, then we're going to be purged, and that's not a very nice thing to happen to you. So let me quickly introduce them to you, because it's very important in Original Sin 2. This is Lady Gwyn, and she's a noblewoman. She hails actually from this island, Reaper Isle, sorry. She was born in Prospect Town, which is a village here on the island. And she's a sorcerer, like the rest of my party. And we'll see that the fact that she's from this island is going to be important with how the NPCs are going to react to her. This is my wood elf, Val. She is a stranger to these lands. She was fighting for the Divine Order in a war against the guys called the Black Ring, but now they decided that they want to purge her of her source also, so she feels a little bit betrayed, and she was in jail together with Lady Gwyn. So the big thing in Original Sin 2 is that when you're going to do your character creation, you're going to select one character, you're going to select your race, you're going to select your background story, your origins, and that's going to have an enormous impact on the game, and we'll see a couple of examples as we progress. And then on the other side, I have my dwarf here, an Imperial dwarf. So he's Magnus, and he is he's from the Dwarven Empire, and he's not going to like what he's going to see here on this island. And then we have our thief, who has a little bit of a special backstory. We'll talk about him a little bit later on. But I'll start by demonstrating some of the changes that we've been doing to combat. So I'll head over there, and we'll have a look at some of those combat rules. We'll be attacked by a bunch of dune beetles. So that's these guys. So combat follows the same basic rules that we had in Original Sin. So you have your turn order at the top of the screen, you have action points, and then actions that you can do with those action points. But the big change is that we reduced the amount of action points that you have. So like Val here, she has 3 action points only. And the reason why we did that is because actions now only cost 1 action point or 2 action points. So you will think in a much more tactical manner about what you're going to be doing, because you'll say, okay, it's easier to calculate when it's a very low cost than when you had a high cost.
So no more like 9 action point spells or anything like that?
No, that doesn't exist anymore. I mean, if you have 4 action points, that's already a lot. So you can still save action points to the next turn. So you can have she starts with 3 action points. She could have 4, so if she saves 1 to the next turn, as a matter of fact, I'll do that in a second, she will be able to use it to cast a 4 action point skill or 2 action point spells. But it's much easier to calculate, and we've seen in the gameplay that people are reacting in a much more tactical manner, and that makes it for a lot more fun.
Do you think it also kind of speeds up the pace a little bit? Because I remember doing a lot of kind of math when I was playing Divinity and be like, okay, I've got 13 action points, I'm going to do this spell and this spell. It would take a few minutes to kind of add everything up.
Exactly. I mean, that's what happens. The thing is that you also have much more actions to choose from in Original Sin 2, because in that sense, it's like, if you remember Baldur's Gate 2, they built on top of what was there in Baldur's Gate 1. So you started out with a shitload, sorry, I can't say that, but
you can say whatever you want.
a truckload of skills and spells. And so here you also start with quite a lot of skills at your disposal from the very get-go. So, and knowing that they all cost 1 action point, and with a special icon that's 2 action points, and then you have your 3 action point skills, makes it a lot easier. I cast a grease surface here. It's a variation on an oil surface. I don't know if you cook by any chance.
I hear grease fires are really good, right?
Yeah, so if you
want one of those in your kitchen.
And do you know what happens when you put water on a grease fire?
It explodes.
Yes. Exactly, there you go. So that's the entire idea behind. So this is burning grease, so if we're going to put water on this, it's going to explode, and that's going to conflagrate the little guy here, although I think he's never going to make it towards us. Okay, so let's have Lady Gwyn. She is going to cast a skill called Shackles of Pain. Basically, Shackles of Pain is a skill that if it's cast on somebody, when he hits me, he's going to hurt himself. So this guy indeed he didn't make it. Yeah, and notice what happens here. There's a little ghost coming out of it, and I'll explain that in a second. Let me just get Val here to do a lightning strike. So she's going to. Lightning Strike is going to attack one beetle, and then she's automatically going to jump to the closest one, stunning all two of them.
Nice.
And so they're both out of combat, and so now it's just a question of getting rid of the damage. Right.
So are all the abilities we're seeing here like fairly early game abilities, since you said you're about level 10?
Yes, so these are all early game abilities. I mean, in the original Sin, these would have been higher level abilities, but now this is like your standard stuff because they're really, and that's what I'm going to show, but I need to kill him without using elements, so I'll just try to kill him with Gwyn, so that's going to be perfect. I need a body. In Original Sin, one of the things that we're adding that changes the tactics of the entire game is something called source skills. And source skills are basically these guys here, and you see I can't cast them right now, and the reason I can't cast them is because I don't have a source point. So to get source points, one of the ways of doing it is source vampirism, and I can get it off bodies. So I'm going to extract some source. It also causes a corpse explosion, which you can use in combat to hurt the enemy. I now have what's called a source point, and they're very limited resources. So actually my maximum source points that I can have right now is 1. So I can only have 1 source point, and with my source points I can cast my source skills, which are now opening up, and they're like the equivalent of very high level mastery skills, and you can get them from the very beginning because the limiting factor is the source points. And to get them, you can get it from either dead bodies. You could get it in other ways. I'll show you different other ways later
Did grabbing it from that body consume the body? Like, is that a one-time thing?
You know, it consumed the body, and so it's gone. So basically what happens, it's a dark form of the source. We know it's a little bit a wrong name, source force. But the dark side of the source is going to see you consume it from bodies. I'll show you a couple of other ways that you can be very dark about it later on. And then there's also lighter uses of the source, which are going to require you to sacrifice more. And the dark side is very fun, is a lot of fun, because what happens is that during combat, as bodies accumulate, they suddenly become the resources for you. And so it makes the middle game of combat much more interesting, because those bodies start popping up all over the place. Of course.
And they become booby traps too, I guess?
Yeah, because you can...
Exploding.
Exactly, because you got the corpse explosion that's going to be on top of them. However, we'll see what the enemies can do with it, because obviously the enemies also can use the source, and that's going to make things more interesting.
So my Divinity strategy of just melting every enemy in front of me is no longer maybe the best strategy.
No, because, well, I mean, if you're not interested in the bodies, and if you want to deprive the other guy of bodies, that's a very good strategy. But if you're going to be the one that needs the bodies, then you're going to have to deal with that. So it's one of those little, well, it's a big thing, the source thing, because it makes a big difference. But it's one of those little things that changes how your tactics evolve, and how we are also capable of putting in much more new types of challenges as we progress, because obviously we don't want to repeat the same gameplay. So I'm addressed here by a dwarf boatmaster, she's called, Rootin of the Boats. And we see that she recognizes Gwyn, because Gwyn was coming from this village, and so she's being recognized and by the dwarf. And you'll notice every dialogue that you have, pretty much every dialogue in the game, is going to react differently depending on who you are, what you are, where you come from, what your origin story is, and so forth. So we'll see several examples of that, because we went really overboard with this. But we're going really overboard with this because we still have a lot of work on it. But it's going to be a lot of fun. Anyway, I'm going to say that I don't want to talk about For Joy ever, because I shouldn't have been released. And so she's asking me, how did you get here? So I can tell about the shipwreck, but I'll tell her to mind her own business. And then I ask her if she knows if there's a way to leave the island. And the reason I do that is because I'm being pursued, and I know that those divine magisters will be here any day. And she says there's good news, because this is a remote island, and it's only serviced like every couple of weeks by a ferry. But the good news is that the Divine Order is arriving here sooner than expected, because the mayor of the village has been poisoned. And so that's not a good thing for me, because if those guys are going to arrive, then what will happen is that I'm going to be purged, and purging really is not a good thing. All right, let me split up my party here for a second to demonstrate something to you. I mentioned that the world reacts differently depending on who you are. So this is a very simple example, but it does show very well what it means. So if she's going to click on X-Man, she's going to talk about, when I was a kid, I always thought that he was a tyrant, right? So that's what she has to say about that. Now, this guy is a human. So any human that would click on them will get something different because if he's not born here, so she was born here, so she automatically reacted to that origin tag. And so he says, I learned about this guy in school. It's Harold, and he's the hero of Northminster Siege. Now, the elf is going to go and click on her. She doesn't know this place. She doesn't know human history. So she's just going to make a generic observation in the sense that, he looks impressive. He looks like a warrior, but that's it. The dwarf, however, is going to react much more emotional to it because it turns out that our friend Harold here was a general that killed many dwarves. He was a dictator responsible for a big genocide. And so it's a quick introduction to how all of the origin stories get recognized in the world, and we'll see as we progress that it goes quite far.
So will that is that more of an impact on kind of game flavor, or will it also affect quests you can take?
Completely, because there's a couple of things I should mention to you. We'll show it again a little bit later on. You can play with up to 4 players this time, and you can play cooperatively, but you can also play competitively. Ooh. And so if you're going to be picking up, so we have an entire competitive questing system in there, and so we'll see how it works, and it's very cool because it's like you started using all of the RPG mechanics that we had in the original scene, and you're starting to use them against each other. And that you will see me do things to poor Thomas here that are not.
It was hard enough for me to lock down one friend to play through 70 hours of Divinity together. Trying to get 4 people is going to take a year for me to.
It's worth it, but you can still play with 2. You can play with 3. Don't forget we have split screen now, which is something that we introduced in the enhanced edition, so you can have 2 couples play against each other. So there's lots of flavors how you can play together with each other. It's really becoming like an RPG system, like a pen and paper game, which is essentially the entire vision behind what we're trying to do. So let me copy it. So again, I'm controlling her, so she recognizes what's going on here. She says, I was always afraid of this little graveyard here. And there's something special about us, which I didn't mention, is we can see ghosts. And we're actually the only ones that can see all these ghosts, so nobody else can see them. And the ghosts is not just something that is cryptid, although you will see many ghosts walking around and having their own stories. It's also systemic. That means anybody that I kill, you'll see the ghosts pop up.
So we saw the beetles on the beach.
Exactly, but I wouldn't have had a very interesting conversation with them unless I would have had Pet Pal, because I've had Pet Pal and Spirit Talk together allows me to talk to animals. But
do they get kind of pissed when you kill them and then talk?
They're very angry when you kill them. They're very angry, and we'll see examples because it's a systemic that you can abuse to your advantage. And once you'll see it, you'll start thinking of what you can do with all of this. So this guy has something to talk about. It's a little backstory, but what I can do is I can steal his soul to charge Bloodstone. So my entire party has Bloodstones, like you had in Original Sin 1. And it's a dark version of the Source again. But I'm basically, that's the end of his astral energy. And his astral energy is now my Bloodstone. And what can I do with this Bloodstone? I can recharge Source Points. So it's like a healing potion for Source Points, which you can use during combat. So if you don't have any bodies, you can always take a Bloodstone. But it comes at the expense of Spirit's astral energy, and so it's not necessarily a nice thing.
So when you play through Divinity, are you the guy who goes in and just kills every NPC on his way through the
game? We still have that rule that you can kill anybody. So that's definitely an option of playing, right? So obviously the rest of the party might not agree with you, and they might try to stop you, and so then you'll start waging war on one another. We'll see.
But now you can kill anybody, including ghosts. It's really anybody.
Yeah, kill everybody twice.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we'll see examples of that, but you can also question ghosts. So we there's deeper narrative going on. If the ghosts suddenly become an option also to use in your narrative as you're going through. So you'll see examples of that also. So let's head into Prospect Town here. And so Gwyn said, let me do the talking because she came from here. And so as we enter here, I didn't really question the dwarves in the beginning. We would have learned that there's a big problem going on between the dwarves and the humans over here. The dwarves are economic immigrants, and they hail from the Dwarven Empire, which is a little bit on the verge of collapse. And things have been going bad here with the economy in this particular village. So the dwarves are not being paid anymore, and so you have like a little bit of insurgents going on. So as I enter, Thorin, he recognizes Gwyn again. Pretty much everybody is going to recognize Gwyn because she came from here, and that's her origin tag. There's this entire system with tags and traits that the dialogues reflect upon. So what I can say is, I can lie. I can say, you know what, the purging didn't have a very big impact on me. And he said, well, I didn't even know that was possible. But still, I mean, you must have had enough source in there because your mother was the one that had you arrested. And so that obviously indicates that I have an interesting relationship with my mother. But apparently it turns out that my mother is in prison right now. And so what I can query about what happened. And she apparently is a suspect in the murder of the mayor here, the poisoning of the mayor here. And
people think she wanted to be mayor.
Yes, so that's her motivation for it. But actually, it's a token arrest because it was the dwarves were rioting because the dwarf was arrested, and they think the dwarf, the humans really think the dwarf is guilty. But to suppress the riots, they put her mother in jail because she was the other suspect, the one that the dwarves are saying. And they're waiting for the order to arrive so that they're going to suppress the dwarves and the insurgency, essentially.
So it seems like race plays a much bigger role in this game than it did in Divinity 1. That game was mostly humans, I feel like, interacting. And already we've seen elf, dwarf, human in here.
Yeah, and you'll also be able to play as lizards. So that's also in there. So the game is, you basically have 3 large factions in the entire game. So we're on an island here, but most of the action takes place on the mainland. And that's, you start off in the area where we have the Divine Order. Then we'll head into territory controlled by the Black Ring. And then the Divine Order in the beginning of the game, we'll see they're setting up an armada, which is sailing out towards something called the Ancient Empire, which is completely lizard occupied. So, and you'll be able to play with all of the factions that have quite an impact throughout the game. So Thorin here says, I can talk to Thorin and say, can you let my friends in here? And so I get a persuasion event, and you see I have the little tags over here. I can be witty, I can lie, or I could use my heiress tag. My heiress tag is the one that actually says that I'm the heiress to the Welford family inside of the village. And that's my specific origin tag. The others are tags that I could have acquired or selected during character creation. And so
that might not have too much use in certain other territories. But
the heiress has nothing to do, for instance, if you're going to be in an ancient empire, it's not going to pop up. But here, it's a specific advantage for Gwyn. But what she's going to say is, you know what? I'm not going to let him in. I'm just going to step up. She gets the swindler tag +1 also because she's lied to him. So swindler tags are something that you'll have to take into account. And what happens here is that he blocks all the rest of the party because they're not allowed to enter, and she can just happily walk in. So the reason why that is in there is because we have this we have this entire competitive questing thing, and essentially every single character in your party can be on his own narrative. So if you would jump in right now, you would just say, you know what, I'm going to take control of Vel here, and I'm going to go and talk to him. And then I'm going to say, you know what, I'm going to try to persuade you. And you see she has a completely different conversation, actually, that's going on. So we've done that, and then we really went very far in this. We've done that to pretty much every dialogue that is of importance throughout the game. And so it's bananas when you start thinking about it, because it doesn't stop there. So she can use her elf tag, which I think I'm better off doing the scholar tag here. And so that works. And so I'm now allowed to go through. So if I go with my thief here, he can say, you know what, I'm going to just try to grease his palm, because that's the kind of thing I do. And he says, yeah, 20 golds, but unfortunately I don't have enough money. So I'll try it again, and I'll try to persuade him. And this time I'm going to say, I'm a human like you. And human is something that's going to work here, because I'm on the right side. So let's now do my dwarf and try that.
I feel like this isn't going to go so well.
Actually, I could persuade him, but I didn't talk to the dwarves before, and that would have given me some of the hints that I needed to convince this guy. So, but I want to show to you how I can make this fail. So what I'll do is I'll try to convince him. All right. So I say, oh, look, I'm a dwarf. And so he says, well, look at that, the dwarf, drawn to his broth like flies to shit. Forget it, the town's full enough of gnomes as it is. So I can insult him, or actually I can try to bribe him. You see it, the price is also higher for him. It's going to be 50 gold points for my dwarf. And I don't have enough cash, and he throws me out. I can also insult him. His mother must have betted a very hairy cave dwarf. But that doesn't work very well either. So, but it does get me a duelist tag, and so that's not going to work out. And if I really try, they're going to either attack me or arrest me. So my trick is going to have to be that I'm going to have to go the entire different way.
Sneaking into town?
I could. I mean, there's actually a path that I can sneak through. Yeah, so I think it involves, what is it? There's a sneak path, but I haven't tried it yet. So, but the thing that I'm going to do is use the information that I got from those dwarves. Is I would have talked to them. Like in Original Sin, also you don't need to. You can explore and just discover stuff as you go, right? There's no right way or wrong way of doing things. It's really like, how are you going to do your thing? Now I'm just going to, this is not sneaking anymore. This is crouching because there's a cover system in there. So you can now hide behind objects and that also adds to combat.
Now is that purely like line of sight based, or is there some kind of snap into cover that gives you like a higher defense points?
There's okay. Well, let me.
Because that's like the XCOM approach versus something that's kind of just about environmental obstructions.
No, you can like, for instance, where are they? I'm trying to find them. Problem is, it's full of renegade dwarves over here, so I'm going to die on my own. I'm just trying to find one. I don't see one here. There's objects, and so when you go to the objects, they highlight, and then you can just go and snap behind them, and then you're going to be covered by them. So that's, and then obviously, but like these things also all provide cover to me if I just go behind them. So it's, and since we added for Enhanced Edition, we added grenades. So grenades are something you can throw from cover. It just takes one action point to go into cover. You have talents that make you free to go into cover. So a ranger can just shoot, go to cover, and come out of cover, shoot, go to cover. So it makes for the ranger gameplay definitely gets more interesting. This is still my sneaking. By the final game, this will have a completely different animation, I'm sure.
So was that a design choice you guys made to make like archers a more powerful class, or what was the consideration for cover?
It just was something like we want to use the environment more. So there's a couple of things that we're not talking about yet, but you'll see by the time we will be finished with it that the environment is going to be much more important in combat than it is currently. Right now you have all the elemental interactions, and you'll see different types of elements also being added to the game. But we very much want to do more with the environment because it makes a lot of sense. Original Sin was a game about like, think about the combinations that make sense and they'll actually work in general if you try them out. But there's lots of things that I could be doing with the environment also in that. But I don't want to talk about it yet because we're still implementing it. So, and otherwise I'll be promising things that maybe we'll not be able to pull off. So I'm just trying to not die here. There's a couple of blobs over here. So that's the ones I was looking for, poison slugs. And what I'm going to do, I forgot to take, oh shit. Okay, well I'll do it with Brenda. Hold on. She's going to use her magic pocket, send it to my dwarf. Mangan is going to charge his source point. So he's got a source point now. And his source point is the one that he needs to be able to cast that meteor charge source skill. Where is it? No. Didn't I have a... Where is it? Ah, there it is. Alright, so I'm just going to try to kill these guys all on my own. So it also demonstrates the power of the source skills. They are like really high level, powerful things, and if you use them well... then you should be able...
That looked effective.
That is very effective because these guys are rather interesting.
So he was a little bit outside the zone.
So they bleed poison. So what's happening here is that the poison was bleeding, it collected with the fire, and so you got like a poison cloud that erupted. And so unfortunately this guy made it. And then we get these explosions, but Mangan should be able to... well, they definitely don't like fire, dodge these visions.
Oh, so close.
No, just a shot. Alright. Well done, Mangan.
You don't want to walk on that fire, do you?
No. And for that I would actually need my thief, who has a walk over fire surface, but I don't have a teleport skill, I think. And I don't have a teleport... There's many ways I could go over it.
Fire shield?
There you go.
That gives me a question about the interface for the game and the hotbars for abilities and stuff. One issue I had in the original Divinity is towards the end of the game I had so much stuff, both abilities and items and stuff, that it got really overwhelming trying to sort everything.
Oh yeah.
What are you doing for this game to kind of try to fix that?
We're going to be working on it. I mean, we already put a lot of improvements on the Enhanced Edition, but there's going to be, truth to tell, there will be a lot of abilities that you can use, so we'll need to find something that's going to allow it to make more manageable than it is currently. But we haven't done it yet, so we still. I mean, this is despite the thing. The strange thing about this, because we're building it on top of our original sin, it already looks finished to a certain degree, but actually it's not. It's like still really, for us, this is a pre-alpha. So there's really a lot of stuff that we're going to be adding on top of it. And like the user interface, all of it will be changing as we progress through, and we'll be iterating over it because we have, we have quite a lot of ambitions with what we want to do. So I'm going to pass control over, or well, actually I'm just going to do that because we're recording it. At some point I'm going to give control of the dwarf to Thomas, so that we can concentrate on the other characters, and he's going to be fighting, and he's going to be my opponent then in combat. Let me just get over there and see if I can get in here. So that's like they're well badly put. So there's a dwarf that saw me, a protester. And if I say, I'm a dwarf, I'm welcome, brother, and so there's not going to be a problem, and the struggle continues. So
basically, kind of the resistance down here?
Yes, exactly. These are the dwarven slumps, and if I'm now going to go over here, we're going to see, and then we're going to do that swapping thing that you can do in Original Sin. So here's a little scene, still very placeholder, but you see the racism against dwarves, so she doesn't want to sell to the dwarf, right? So it's a very racist thing of her to do, and so, but she's not going to take any shit. She takes a Molotov cocktail, and there goes the entire stand.
Can you zoom in on this at any time?
Of course. So, but I mean, this is still work in progress, so there's notes. So the guards come in, are you injured, etc. And so the guards hide themselves behind the fact that the order is due in town, and so they're not very happy. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get Val to join me. No, Val, can you come over here, please? And then I'm going to get my thief over here also.
So this world, you're saying it's pre-alpha, but it really looks gorgeous. And Original Sin was a really pretty game as well, but I feel like the level of detail here has taken a significant step up.
Well, we've been working on it for a year already, and so it's not like we've been sitting idle ever since Original Sin was released. And our team is bigger now because of the success of Original Sin, but you'll see that the art style is a little bit more grounded, and indeed actually the entire narrative is much more grounded than Original Sin was. You'll find there's still fun moments in there, but everything is very consistent now. We spend a lot of time on developing the entire lore of the game, making sure that everything works. Is interesting also because it's easy to make boring lore, and we think that the narrative that we're going to be telling is going to be at a much higher level than what we've done before.
So it's not quite a goddess versus immortal evil dragon this time?
No, like this girl here.
It's what I recall from Divinity. I may have gotten that a little wrong.
No. Like it starts already with the origin story. So, like this girl was put in jail by her mother, so that did several things with her, and her mother is now in jail, and she'll be able to deal with that. And all of them have pretty interesting origin stories. The really interesting part is that we have this cooperative and competitive question going on. So we've made a narrative in which you're basically motivated to help each other and go against each other. That basically how that works is that there's an overall overarching goal where we have to get, and we all want to get there. However, our motivations for getting there are very different to one another. And your motivations might be antagonistic to mine. So that means that I have to make sure that at some point I'm going to be able to get rid of you if I want to, unless I make a compromise and say, you know what, this is the deal. What are we going to do about this? Well, we make a joint decision. So it gives you a much higher degree of freedom than what we had before. But it obviously for us it's also a truckload of extra work. But it makes for a lot of fun. So we're going to be seeing examples of that in a second. My dwarf here, meanwhile, that girl who was who threw the Molotov cocktail should have arrived by now, and there she is, Liddy. And so she has a dwarf dialogue, and so my dwarf can now take the sides of the dwarves, and we're going to be doing some quests on their behalf. And I'm going to give control of the dwarf to Thomas, who's going to join in. Let me just.
So he's on a separate system right now, or just hooked up over a network cable.
This is network cable, yeah. So I'm going to. I'm just going to. Did you join already?
I'm loading in.
While I'm here, actually, I'm going to start making Thomas's life miserable. So we're going to start talking to this guy here, and we're going to buy this. This is a red fabric dye, and I'm going to give a love grenade for it. One love grenade, and then some cash for that, please. Thank you. All right, so he accepts my offer. So we're bartering here, and I'm going to go talk to this girl here, Brilla. I'm going to buy a poison potion. And I'm going to give...
Like whatever you're scheming is not going to end well for Thomas.
No. I'm going to give him the other love grenade. And there we go. And so what I'm going to do now is we'll have an entire new crafting system. I'll show you a couple of examples. Right now, you're still going to see me craft in the old-fashioned way. Wait a minute. I just need to give myself some points in crafting, otherwise this is not going to work out. So that's cheating that I was doing there. Craftsmanship.
It's not a feature.
No.
That's not part of the final game?
No. It's going to be one
Not
of
even
them.
if you buy a special edition?
Pay to win, Russ. Confirmed.
We were thinking of making action points a microtransaction. So I'm going to use the die on this poison potion over here. So I made a healing potion, and I'm just going to drop it into Thomas's backpack.
That seems like a nice thing to do.
I thought that was I gave him a gift, so it should be all right.
Should I head it down meanwhile? Or?
Yeah, if you can come to the barracks, I'll show this part, and then I'll head off to the guys to the north and show this.
I'm already predicting playing with at least one of my friends who will, at the earliest opportunity, abandon me somewhere, like at the gate when only one person could be let in. Just say, "See you. I'm gonna go do this quest by myself," and then he's gonna get killed because he's gonna get cocky, and then he's gonna be like, "Oh, can you come revive me?" That's
pretty much, and to cater for that, we have something called pacts. So if somebody betrayed you and backstabbed you and says, "I want to be friends with you," you'll be able to close a pact with him, and you're going to be able to say, "These are the conditions of us getting together again." It's like a contract, a marriage contract. And so we showed this in Europe last week at a press event to some journalists, and a guy said, like, there were people who proposed in Original Sin, so we had a couple of marriages being done in the game. Wow. And so he said, "But this is probably going to get them to divorce." So I'm here inside of the barracks. I'm going to talk to the captain, Captain Morris, and again he reacts to Gwyn. So I'm just going to get my thief over here so you can see that that's different if it would be somebody else, and I'll just get her over here also.
I have a question. If you click on the dwarf, can you see what Thomas is doing right now?
I can, but he should be able to switch that off. So if we're going to make... it is going to be switched off, but we're not at war yet. So if I'm going to declare war on Thomas, which I'll do afterwards, then I will not see any of his things anymore.
So if you guys are on good terms, you can kind of choose to let somebody see what you're doing.
So you're basically... The idea is not that you're going to have to go and fight. It's just like the option is always there. Mm-hmm. And we still have a conversation system in which you can discuss with each other. We don't have the rock, paper, scissors anymore. So because with 4 players, it turns out that persuasion takes too long otherwise. But you can disagree. And one of the ways that you can end the thing is like say, "I'll fight for it, but this is really important to me." Or what you can also do is like, "Okay, fine, fuck you." And you just go and backstab, and that's the fun, of course, right? Because if my origin story has me on a strong motivation for something, and the other guy is doing exactly the opposite, and I can't convince him of that, I might actually still want to do the thing that the party agreed not to do, and that's the thing that could get me out of the party. And then afterwards, how you do that was like in school, I guess, right? "Oh, I did a very nice thing, but can we a bad thing? Can we be friends again?" And so you start getting that thing. The end goal, of course, is to have fun, right? So, and this is the kind of thing that
Hopefully, it doesn't end with broken friendships.
I would hope so. The idea is that you enjoy yourself. He's again asking me, like, "How the hell did you get here?" So I'm going to give it another lie. And then I'm not going to go through his entire dialogue tree. It's going to take me too long. But he basically tells me we have a dwarf in custody. And once we have evidence against that dwarf, then that'll be it. Your mother will be released. That's my mother over here. So if you enter here, she talks to me and she says, "Oh my God, my darling daughter." And I can say, "You hypocrite."
She puts you in jail.
Exactly.
Clear, right?
Your hypocrisy knows no bounds. And but she's like, I don't know if you remember Dynasty, very old soap series.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is like Joan Collins in Dynasty, if you want. Gillian Welford. So if I ask her what help she needs, she tells me that she wants me to get the gold inside of her vault and to give money to the captain so that he releases her. And if I ask even more about her, well, let me do that. Oh, sorry. She's going to ask me, we need to convict that dwarf because if we do that, then he is going to be arrested and he'll be hanged, and that'll be it. And that's the dwarf over here. They're interrogating him right now. So Thomas is actually also here. And basically what her mother asks, because the dwarf is innocent, is to eventually to forge evidence against him. So it's an option that I can go and forge evidence. And the dwarf, well, he's not going to really talk to me because I am a Welford, and so he's not going to talk to Welford. My thief, who's arrived by now, will be able to talk to him. So the difference between Gwyn and my human is that he doesn't have the origin tag, he just has the human tag. So he still talks to me like I'm a human, so he's not going to be very fond of me, but the dialogue will be different than what Gwyn is going to have. Okay, so we can go into all of that, but basically what we're going to do is that, oops, this seems to be a bug. Alright, I know I'm hitting the wrong button, sorry. You guys with your American keyboards. So I can have actually Eric here to agree to help the dwarf, and he is going to now be on the side actually of Thomas, who also agreed to help. So what I'm going to do is, wait, do I need to still show that? I can actually, I'm going to give you control over him already, Thomas. All right, come on, here we go, up. So Thomas now has control of 2 guys in the party, and I have the other 2 in my party. Now imagine that Vel here would have been the 3rd player in this game, right? She's going to be the interesting one. She's the intelligent one. And she says, hey, there's somebody poisoned, why don't I go and have a look at the girl that was poisoned? Maybe I can find out something. While Gwyn and the dwarf and the thief, they're all scheming to find evidence and to forge evidence. She's just going to say,
does she have some skills
unique to her
that let her be good, like investigator or scholar or something?
She has a scholar ability, and she's a healer also. And actually, you'll see that tag right now in action because it's going to allow her to. She also has the pet pal ability, so she can talk to the dog and get clues from him.
That's a big dog.
It's a wolf actually, and actually, well, can you come, Thomas, and can you talk to the nice doggy? Where I am, I'm inside the house of the mayor.
Okay, hold on.
Alright.
She also has 2 flaming swords, it looks like.
They are wands, actually. So she is capable of... the wands allow her to cast skills. So she has... where are they? Oh, they're not mapped. So...
I think Tom is really into those wands.
It was just an awesome animation. It was like you were saying, everything just feels like more ornate, I guess is how I would describe it. All the character models and the animations and stuff like that.
And the animations are actually still work in progress, heavily work in progress. So... but it's starting to get together. So I'm going to listen in on Thomas's conversation here. And so you see the dog eyes him furiously. So if I'm going to come over here with Gwyn now. Can you get yourself a pet pal, Thomas? Wait, otherwise I'll hold on. I'm managing too much characters at the same time here. Alright.
Yeah. I have pet pal now.
Can you go talk to the dog?
Sure. Where'd you go?
He's here in the other room. Yeah, okay.
Okay, now...
And so I'm going to listening on the conversation. So the dog is actually trained to attack dwarves. So it's one of, and so he would be nice to the humans. So it's again, even at the pet pal level, you'll see differences between how the characters are being treated. Okay, so let's, you stay there, I'll go up. And you can already go over to Lord Blackheart. So this is a healer here. And so if I talk to him, again, it's going to be different. So he says it's my patient because I'm a healer. He doesn't want her to become my patient. And so if I talk to him, I can learn all kinds of things. And he doesn't want to tell me about it because he says patient-healer confidentiality. So if I tell him I have healing skills, I say, you're a colleague, so he'll be able to talk about it. Now, if Gwyn is going to talk, she's not going to get these options and he's not going to be willing to give it to her. So again, you will get all kinds of different options. I guess you start getting the gist of that. So I'll still show you more examples just to hammer it home. But this is the patient actually. So, and yeah, she's not really talking. So let's see if we can help her out. Oh, I missed. Sorry. Did I hit her? No, I missed. All right.
That's not a nice way to wake somebody up.
Well, oh shit, he's here also. Oh no, he's going to go see.
This is like a defibrillator. Ye olden defibrillator.
Well, you know what? I'm just going to kill this guy. Sorry, I missed. I don't know where it is on this keyboard. Yeah, okay. So I need my thing back. Maybe I can do it like this.
So we just went from resuscitating a woman to murdering a man in the blink of an eye.
Look at that. Take his soul up.
Oh my god!
You're pretty fast at that. I think you've got some practice at the...
I've been playing the game,
stealing.
so I'm going to do Source Vampirism here on... no, I want to first kill her, sorry. Okay. So I'm doing it because I wanted to show you that it's an actual systemic. So she's poisoned, so now I can question her because I couldn't talk to her during life, but now I can talk to her. Right? So I get an entire dialogue tree as her as a spirit, and that gives me. And so we're using that systemic, so we're really supporting it through the game also. So that entire dark side gives you options also. And it in the past we have this thing called N+1 design. That means that the reason why we allow you to this is going to get me too far. But basically, it's the design philosophy which allows us to to tell you can kill anybody and still finish the game. And so the ghosts are like part of that mechanic that we've now exported. So anyway, this would get me too far. At GDC maybe one day. So if I ask him who, and she's actually missing a dialogue line, and it's a pity because I really enjoyed it. The first question that you could ask her, who killed you? And then it's of course you. And then, but who poisoned you? And then she tells me who the guy is, Sir Blackhorse. All right, so then I'm going to steal their spirit. Thank you.
Oh my god! Well, you didn't really care who killed him.
I got 2 bloodstones. I'm demonstrating. I'm not really playing. I would never play it this way. Because this has a very bad impact. There's a karma meter that measures your karma, and it goes down and down and down when you're doing these things, and that has an impact. Then again, on the tax that are going to be applied to you. All right, so let's get over here and start. Sorry, one last example of the thing with where's my? Oh no, you have the thief, right, Thomas?
I do.
Yeah, never mind. I'm coming to where's Gwyn? I need to group my gallows. So in gallows, what we're going to have, of course, is ghosts, and then you can start talking to these ghosts. So you basically, the lore of the ghosts is you have lost souls. That's the guy that are stuck in this place, and then you have the spirits, like when you kill somebody. If you don't kill them right away or suck them right away, they'll disappear eventually because they're going to a place called the Hall of Echoes. What am I doing? We need to go over here. Right, we'll do it this way. That should be. I'm just using the pathfinding, probably making it a bit confusing for everybody. But I want to head north. I want to go home with her. Because she's from this village, that means she also has a house here, of course. And so if we're going to head over there.
And is her backstory, did you choose her backstory in character creation? Same way you would like choose her appearance sort of thing? There's a list to choose from?
Yeah. So, and one of the reasons we're going to Kickstarter is to increase on those backstories because the amount of work that is being put in there is it's quite extensive.
Right. And so if nobody in your party had the whole heiress backstory,
you would never see it.
You would
never.
It would be a very different experience.
Yeah, that's the really cool part about it. So the more origin stories that you're going to have in there, the more replayability you're going to have in there. We say it somewhere in our pitch. We say we think that when people are going to tell stories of this game, you already have it a little bit with Original Sin, but nobody's going to have the same story. I mean, it's all going to be different because there's so many options and the word count is so large.
So in Original Sin, the story you were telling was kind of the way you played the game was probably very different than the way somebody else played the game because you had so much sandbox potential with the combat, and now it's going to be on the story end as well. Yeah.
So because Original Sin was all about systems, and so now it's really about exactly applying the systems to the narrative. That's why those tags are important. I didn't really talk about them because it's how it works. At your character creation, you're going to get a bunch of tags. Born in Prospect Town, daughter of Gwyn Welford, and these tags are recognized by the game, and so it reacts to that. So that's why the magic works human. So when there's a human tag, lizard tag, but swindler. Like, for instance, if Thomas would have talked to a thief somewhere in the beginning of the village, he would have been able to get a quest there that I would never have gotten because I wouldn't have had the swindler tag, and so he would have only given it to them. And it works really well, actually. So
now, when you get something like when you get a kind of a point level up, like you would in Divinity for being brash or being a swindler or something like that, is that stuff you can kind of... Can you reverse that at some point? Like if you have a history of stealing from people and you're like, oh, I don't want to do that anymore.
It sticks.
It's permanent.
It sticks. Okay. Right. So your reputation is going to stick, but if you go to somewhere else where that reputation doesn't matter, then you're okay, right? So since you'll be traveling through the world, you should be okay. If you're known here as a murderer and a thief and a source sucker and whatever, you should be okay in progressing through.
That's good.
All right. So tell him that. So this is my brother. Actually, he's not very happy to see me. And what's going to happen on Thomas's screen when I'm going to thank my brother for his warm welcome and I ask him about the estate, how business is going, because I'm the heir. What's going to happen is that he is going to send an assassin after me, and he's going to actually approach Thomas. He's going to give him the quest through an intermediary, which Thomas has now probably received through Messenger. I don't know if you got it already. but he's going to receive like, hey, there's this contract on Gwyn Welford's head. And so that's going to be my brother, and that's going to take us through all kinds of places. All right, let me head in over here and just show you a couple of new things, and then we'll slowly finish up because I can keep on talking about it for a very long time. There's already a lot of stuff in there, and by the time we'll be finished with it, it's going to be honestly a hell of an RPG. This is the guy actually that can help me get out of town. So he reacts to me again. And he asks about me, and he has a dragon, and I could take a ride on his dragon to get out of here. But he's going to ask me to pay money for that. So while I do that, yeah, he doesn't want me to go upstairs, but I can still do it. I planted some books over here for presentation purposes, and I want to show you something completely different. This is skill crafting. It's part of a new crafting system. And so I think that I'm going to need an extra point. Well, we'll see if it works. All right, so I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, Tom.
Alrighty.
All right. So what happens if I do mix a mute skill book with a summon spider skill book, for instance?
You get very quiet spiders, I'd imagine.
It's very good because you get indeed the equivalent of a ninja spider, a stealth spider, which has hide in shadows as a property, and so it can turn itself into a where is it?
I think in the top right.
Sorry, yeah, I missed it. Summon stealth spider. So if I'm going to learn that and then I'm going to cast it, I'm indeed going to get a spider that I can summon, a stealth spider, for me to use against my enemies, and it can hide itself. So that is an example of that. So you're going to be good at this. I already figured it out.
I feel like I'd notice that if I saw it on the battlefield. That's a pretty hard to hide that big of a spider.
Yeah, but then if you apply hiding shadows on it, it will be invisible and you won't be able to see it anymore. All right, so we'll do it against Thomas later on. All right, sorry, Thomas.
It's okay.
Okay, so grease trap together with, let's say, rain.
I would imagine flammable water, but that seems ridiculous. Or raining grease, one of the two.
Yeah, raining grease, wet
Oh
wet raining grease. So basically, grease that is ready to conflagrate just by applying fire on top of it. So I get the grease rain, right? So let me just do that. So I'm gonna make it grease rain. Also, if you combine grease with lightning, what do you get?
Grease with lightning.
And grease lightning. All right, so what else can I do? Okay, I got lacerate here and rain. Do you know what that's going to do? That's a harder one.
Raining blood?
Yeah, very good. And why would you want it to rain blood?
That I can't tell you.
We have this talent which is called leech, so that makes you heal when you're standing in blood.
Oh, right, of course.
So basically you make it rain blood, and then when you're standing in it, so it's going to make the battlefield advantageous to you. Of course, if somebody has lightning, then he can electrify all that lightning, that blood around you. So skill crafting is something we'll go pretty far with. And should make for a lot of fun actually, because it's going to make the crafting that much more valuable.
Are you able to combine any skill books, or is it?
We have an entire matrix that we're implementing.
Gotcha.
And so I can't make the claim yet that you can put anything in there, but it's a very big list.
Right.
And so discovering it, because skill books are a limited resource, right? So discovering it is going to be part of the fun, but that means that those skills that you're combining are gone. So you'll have to tactically challenge. Maybe
gotcha.
You'll be saying like, so this is a dragon and he's perched. So that's the dragon we want to ride on, and you see he has his chains. And if you talk to him, well, he sighs and he moans. But if she talks to him, where is she? Oh, she's not here. Okay. You know what? I'm going to use teleport to permits to get there. Let's go faster. Send it to Val. Val, my girl. Use your pyramids. Get to Gwyn. Alright, see, she can talk to him, and then when she talks to him, ask him why you're so weak. Well, he says, I've been purged, and purging is bad, and this is the stuff that's going to happen to you. If it can purge a dragon, for sure it's going to happen to you also, so you better find out a way of getting rid of that. Alright, so I have much more that I could be showing, but we're going to move towards the end, because it's probably already more than an hour. And I'll head in, and let's see. Thomas, can you get yourself into trouble over here?
Where is it? Behind the
Yeah.
the thing? Yeah.
I just want to show you. And actually, can you give this thief to me so I can show you afterwards?
you have to-
Stop! Come back!
Yeah. I think you have to take him back because you're
Yeah,
host.
right. I'm sorry, because it's better if I can show his dialogue. No, what am I doing? I'm just taking my thief back. Alright, go ahead, little dwarf.
Okay. See ya.
Bye-bye.
It's gonna be great.
I can imagine that. So Thomas is seeing these guys here behind this man's house, and they are lone wolves, and lone wolves are a kind of assassins, and they're here to kill this guy who lives in there, and so they're not going to want any witnesses. So Thomas now finds himself with some guys that were in hiding and basically being ambushed. Now, the interesting thing about all of this is that my thief here, he is not who he seems to be. Because if I go in his inventory, and that's only something that a player who would take control in multiplayer can see, otherwise it would be a companion in single player and he would keep this item hidden, has a Divine Order contract. And when he reads it, we learn actually that he has... he's working for the Order, he's not just a refugee like us, and he's here to assassinate this guy. So he has a completely different mission, and so that's his motivation to go on competitive questing over here, because we want to get on the dragon and get out of here. He's interested in murdering the guy. So the other thing that's interesting to see is, you see, I can walk around in Thomas. I should of course not walk in the grease. That was stupid. I'm greased. So, but I'm not participating in combat because that's a choice I get to make now. I can say I'm going to participate in combat, yes or no. Because obviously, since we have PvP in there, I don't necessarily have to do that. Now, if I participate in combat, so I could say that I have a valid... Did you die already?
No, still good.
Alright. So I can basically say, I'm going to make war on Thomas. And so I'm now going to help the other guys to kill Thomas. So we're now basically like end conflict with one another, and the entire game changes all over the place. So now I'm fighting against Thomas, and that's obviously, I'm going to quickly help him out here. Alright. Oh shit, I didn't fire, that was really stupid of me. Oh, you didn't burn?
I died.
Oh yeah, but you didn't burn yet, so I can actually...
Paul must have killed him.
So this is the ultimate insult to another player. Hold on, I need to make...
I can...
So you're about to eat his soul.
Yeah.
You're about to eat the character that you originally made at the start of the game, and now Thomas is controlling soul.
Ah, shit.
Sorry?
You clicked, right?
Yeah? Was it...
no, you shouldn't have done it. Yeah, he gets to resurrect at the graveyard.
Okay.
So he just resurrected himself. But I could have taken his soul, and it's like a one on my scorecard. Now, so let's see what happens now if our thief goes in here. And gets recognized by that Johnny Northeast over here. And he recognizes my thief because he's also a lone wolf. And so we're going to enter in combat, but that's how the other party members might find out about his thing. Mm-hmm. So we get into combat. All right. So yeah, that's all a lot to take in because it's a very expansive game. But
are there any penalties to getting killed or killing your friends?
Yeah. But we're still deciding what those are going to be exactly. So
Gotcha.
I can't tell you what they're going to be in the final game yet because we're fooling around with it. But there's the entire karma thing which will play out quite big throughout the game.
Mm-hmm.
So that will be affected. But we're also we're going to make it affect you if you get killed in combat, and that's why we have the pacts in there. Also, if you say, "Okay, I want to team up with you, but I don't trust you, so we'll pact to protect myself." So it's really essentially what we're doing is we're giving you a gigantic toy box with a narrative that supports it, and then you're just going to have to play with it how you want.
Do you see people like? I imagine you just get people getting to squabbles. Like, how does the story move forward if everyone is at ends with each other?
Well, you're motivated to work together also. So there's like getting off this island is going to require the party to group up because otherwise they're not going to manage, right? So when we are going to, we already discovered that guy is a murderer. And so he's not to be trusted. And so when we eventually are going to give him the gold that he needs to get us on a dragon, he's going to come up with something else. And that might actually require us to help each other. So there's always going to be points where you converge again and that you're motivated to proceed. Obviously, what we also have in there is, and that's one of the things that will let people play at PAX, so that everybody's in combat now. So let me see. You have things like this is an entire arena where you just can go in quickly and start playing against each other because the combat in Original Sin is quite a lot of fun to play against each other. You have all these skills that you can do, encounter and source skills. There's lots of stuff you can do against each other. It's for a lot of fun.
Wow, and do you see the PvP mode? Is there going to be like a PvP outside of just like the story mode?
Yeah.
You think?
So because the arena mode is popular in the office. I mean, you can do very quick matches with it. You can also do it on one screen. Even on PC, you can play with a controller. So if you like say I want to play on one screen against each other, you go into split screen, you play a controller, and you have a quick match of like 10 minutes or so. And it's a lot of fun.
Wow. Well, it's kind of amazing amount of things added to the original formula that like I didn't think that could get deeper. I guess is what I was saying, but it's shockingly deeper.
Yeah, but it's very ambitious, right? So we have
it is.
we have lots of room for fucking it up. But I think we're on a good way. The cool part is that we have, with all the work that we've done on Original Sin, and then afterwards for the Enhanced Edition, which is also really almost a full game on its own,
right.
We now have a great framework to start from, because we don't have to reinvent the wheel for everything. That's why we're using the same interfaces right now. We can experiment, we can try things out. We already have a lot of things working, so we can build on top of it. So it shows you what you can still do with this format of top-down turn-based RPGs.
And so all of this is playable with 1, 2, 3, or 4 players.
Exactly, yeah.
And you can, if you want, just play single player and have all your party members work together or at odd ends with each other.
Well, all the player characters that you can have with their origin stories, those are your companions, actually. So in the beginning of the game, you're going to say, well, you know what, you're going to be my companion, I'll leave you be. There's this big escape from Fort Joy, where all your companions, possible companions are, and you leave behind people. Right, the ones that you leave behind are not the origin stories that you'll be able to develop. The other ones are the ones that you'll get, and then from there you'll get over here, and then from here you'll go back to the mainland, and then the entire thing all goes to one step up. But that's for showing later.
Well, thank you very much for showing this to us. This is it's very impressive, and I look forward to seeing it grow.
Okay, super. Thank you very much for having us.